gentlemen, welcome back to the Strawberry Hill Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Simmons, and we are here, the Shop Cigar Lounge. Got to come see us if you haven't. You guys have heard probably enough about it, so I won't go too much into it. But like, share, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. If you don't follow us, please do. And today I have one of my Accelerant members and friend, Jane Monroe from Embrace the Grape.
Hello, Mike.
Welcome in.
Thank you.
For the 15th time, probably.
I love this place.
Yeah,
I love the
you.
ambiance.
Thank
I love, there's just...
So you haven't smoked a cigar yet, right? Or have you?
Not here.
Okay. So you have smoked before.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but here's the trouble with me and cigars. It usually goes with whiskey. Yeah. And then there's too much of both. Yeah. And then I find myself in trouble. So I'm real...
So we just got to eliminate the trouble part.
Right.
We can do the cigars and whiskey, though.
I need a ride home.
We could do that. We could get you an Uber or get you some friends and family that come with you. Oh, you're all fine.
And I'm also really not all that knowledgeable on cigars. So basically, I smoke whatever you give me to smoke. And the other challenge I have is that I was a cigarette smoker 100 years ago.
And
the whole inhaling thing is it's hard. It's just a habit, and it happens. And then I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
So what got you off of cigarettes?
Well, I was dating this really nice guy that I thought I wanted to marry. And he said,
no cigarettes.
No wife of mine smokes cigarettes. And I said, oh, okay. So I finished the pack and didn't pick him up again for 35 years.
When was that?
A couple of years ago. I mean, I don't smoke now. So what happened was, he and I were married. We did get married. And we were married for 30 years and raised a bunch of great kids.
You didn't smoke a cigarette for 30-some-odd years? Wow.
And then...
You're just like, F this, now we're done.
Well, something like, yeah. So when we separated, I was having drinks with a friend, and he had just come back from Las Vegas. And he said to me, we were well into our cups, as we like to say. And he says, hey, I've got one more cigarette in the pack in the garage. You want to share it with me? And I haven't picked up a cigarette in 35 years. And I said, you better believe I do. And so we shared it, and I had like 3 drags and was completely stoned. And I'm like, yeah, I'm done. And then I tasted it for like a day and a half after that. And I was like, I don't think I ever need to do that again.
So you didn't do it again after that?
I did not, no.
But cigars are good, though.
Cigars are good.
Okay.
I'm good with cigars.
Okay, all right.
But cigarettes, I think I just don't need to.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you.
Not my jam.
I have never smoked a cigarette in my life.
Really?
Mm-mm. Only cigars.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cigars are different because they have a certain atmosphere, a certain panache, a class to them, and it's an experience. But cigarettes are just like, you just suck them down and get another one. But cigars are thoughtful and interesting.
Yeah, I wish you could tell that to like some of the states and the Congress and stuff, because a lot of people don't see that there's a big difference between the two. So
well, there is.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. So enough about cigars. So Embrace the Grape.
Yes.
That is a cool little company. You got to tell me about it.
Well, so it's a beverage catering company, to just kind of, for anybody out there who doesn't know who we are or what we do. If you think about what a food caterer does and then apply that concept to the bar, we do that. Some people call it a pop-up bar service. You could call it that. We service wedding receptions and class reunions, corporate events. This coming Saturday, we're doing the Big Brothers Big Sisters Rise Gala, which is 1,400 people in the Crossroads and 8 bar locations. And I just got done putting the orders together today for that event, and let me tell you, it is substantial.
You're like, there's a lot of people going to be working on that one.
A lot of people working, a lot of people drinking, a lot of people just celebrating. What I do is I help people celebrate. Yeah. And what a great thing. It's when somebody invites us to come into a wedding reception and take care of a very important part of that day. I find that to be quite an honor.
That's cool.
And so that's... it's kind of the angle that I take to what I do. It's not an everyday thing. It's not very many people out there who do what I do. And so to do it well and to be respected is lovely.
I like the tagline, we help people celebrate.
Help people celebrate.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So tell me how this came in fruition. Like how did you start this company?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in 2005, there was a liquor store opening in Lee Summit that I knew one of the guys who was going to open the store, and I think my youngest was still like breadbasket size in a little carrier, and I was looking for just something to make a couple of bucks on the side, and I told a minor mistruth, which was, oh, well, I can keep the books for the liquor store, which what that means is I can balance a checkbook.
Yeah.
It does not mean I understand payables, receivables, time-based payments. It doesn't mean I understand any of that. It doesn't mean I know how to work QuickBooks.
No,
it just means I balance the checkbook at home.
Yeah. How much did you spend? And then what we got in your account. Here we go. We got it. Yeah.
Perfect. So I basically got a job based on that. And over time, not very much time, they ended up looking for another partner in that liquor store. And so this was 2005, so you could walk into a bank and have a pulse, and they would say, how many zeros on that check, Ms. Monroe?
Yeah.
And I told them, and they wrote me a fat check they shouldn't have written in a big fat loan. And I bought into a liquor store. This is going to be great. Except it wasn't. But what came out of it was... in 2009, there was a city facility being built close to the store, and they had an event space. And a bride called and said, can you quote the alcohol for my wedding at this new event space? And I said, sure. So I did, and she called me back, I don't know, a couple weeks later in tears and said, I can't buy my liquor from your liquor store for my wedding. I'm like, why not? She said, well, because it's a city facility, and you have to be a liquor licensed caterer in this city facility.
So the liquor store wasn't a liquor licensed facility?
It is not a liquor licensed caterer. It was a retail
caterer.
liquor by the drink.
I gotcha.
It was a retail liquor in package, but I couldn't sell by the drink.
Gotcha.
So then that kind of spawned this whole idea that, you know, maybe there's a market for this. And so I checked into the places she had checked into, and she said she couldn't afford. And I was like, you're charging what? And because I come from a retail world where it's, you know, it's volume and low dollars, you know, low profit margin, lots of volume. But if I could do higher profit margin and less volume, and also my kids are growing.
Yeah.
So I went to my business partner and I said, you know what, I think we need to spin off this beverage catering company. So we did that in 2009. And then in 2011.
Oh, so there's a big gap, 2005, 2009.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I knew nothing about the liquor business.
Yeah.
And there were 3 partners. When I started with the store, there were 3 of us total. And one of us actually knew how to run a liquor store. And then we found out he was not being ethical in the store. And so we had to move him along quickly and quietly.
Yeah.
And so we did that. But then that left 2 people who didn't know how to run a liquor store. So I learned. And thank God for mentors around me who took me under their wing and really took good care of me. Kicked me in the butt when I needed it, protected me when I needed it. Because liquor's a game, and it's a game.
Yeah.
You know, you
I'm
got
sure it's probably the same as the cigar world.
And it's a boys' game largely. And here I am, this, you know, little 30-something-year-old chickie who comes in and jacks up the boys' game. So, but anyway, then in 2011, my remaining partner and I split, and he kept the store and I kept catering. And that worked really well for me because I think my kids at that time were age 15 down to age 8. And I was losing track of the 15-year-old, and the 8-year-old still needed me at home.
Yeah.
And I was in the store, opening the store at 9 o'clock. Whether they were sick or not, I had to be in that store. And so it gave me an opportunity to just rework how I wanted to build a company and also still be a mom. Because that mom thing, that doesn't last very long.
No,
And
it goes by quick.
Yeah, and you got to do it and get it as right as you can.
So, is the liquor store still open?
Nope, gone.
Oh, look at you making the right move.
Look at me, baby.
Yeah. So you broke off and you did the mobile catering stuff, and so I guess tell me what point from there, like what happens then? Like you get it. Is it just you at first, and like you're like, I got to build this thing up and keep it going?
Yeah, I had a few bartenders, but it was really just me doing everything. All the sales and marketing, the social media. God, that was the first thing I hired done because I suck at that. All the ordering, the inventory management, the figuring out.
This is in what, 2011?
2011.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I was super lucky. There was an event space in Lee Summit where I did all the work. So everything that came through that space was automatically mine.
That's nice.
And so I could move the license there, and that gave me a little base of business to build on. So at least I knew 3 out of 4 Saturday nights there would be some money coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just built from there, and I slowly over time you network and you meet people and you do good work, and word spreads that you're honest and trying to do it right and admitting when you're wrong, and then you get some big opportunities that sort of fall in your lap, and you work like hell to not screw them up. And then, and I will say, probably the first big contract I had was with Lee Summit Parks and Rec to do some outdoor concerts. And it used to be, I would spend the entire day completely knee-jerking about all the details.
Oh, yeah. I know
and
that
now,
feels.
We did a Parks and Rec concert like that last Friday night, and it's like, no big deal.
I'm used to these.
Yeah, this is no big deal.
So I didn't know that you've been running it like kind of on your own, not on your own, but like had it since 2011, like broke off. That is a long time. Good for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That is awesome. I always love when I hear like business owners, small business owners that have been in the game for a while, because like, I'm a year and a half in, and I know like the first like 2-3 years are rough. So I'm like, I just need to make it till the next year. And then like, I always think like, all right, then after that, I'm like, the next year, just get to the next year, just keep on going.
Sometimes it's just getting to the next month.
Yeah, next day sometimes,
There have been times when I would get a deposit check in the mail, $250 deposit check, and I would open the envelope, pick up my car keys, and take it to the bank because I needed that $250 in the bank before 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And, but okay, that's just part of it. And you learn how to manage your money a little better as you go along, and you hope to not have too much inventory on the floor, because inventory is money that could be in the bank that isn't anymore. So it's all the balances you learn.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you that too. I'm glad you said something about like what was some of the hurdles that you kind of went through being a business owner, even like start from finish, like even like what you're going through now. Because I know it's a lot different from 2011, but just like kind of, because I know from here, it's just like, I'm something new, so it's just like trying to get as many people in as like through through the doors and kind of find the right clientele, because you can't really control your clientele all the time, and then just like get people to spend money. I mean, so many things, and like marketing, that's a whole beast. Like you said, you have to hire out. I pretty much hire it out too. It's a lot.
Well, it used to make me cry at night. I'd try to do a constant contact thing or post something on social media, and by the end of it, I'm in tears, and I'm like, I don't have the money to hire it out, but at the same time, the energy I was expending, the toll it was taking on me, because I didn't really understand how it worked in 2011, I just figured out how to have the money. Yeah. And I'll say this also, I was super fortunate that I was a stay-at-home mom before this. And so we knew how to live on one income. And it was tight, but we did it. And I always knew I was an entrepreneur, and when I went back to work, it would be something that was mine. Yeah. I would fall in or find something that would be mine. And it would also take time to build. And really, all I needed to do was build enough of an income so that when my kids went to college, I could take care of their college expenses. That was my motivation. Was my husband had college expenses, student loans. I did not. And just knowing how long it took us to pay off his student loans, I thought, maybe I could start my kids better. Yeah. So that was my motivation. But meanwhile, we're living on one income. So, but also at the same time, I'm the girl who takes the lunch that got left on the counter, and I'm the one who makes sure your cross-country clothes are clean, and I'm the, I'm the one who picks you up from school when you're sick or when you need to go to a meet. So I was also momming at the same time I was building. But we lived on one income to do it. Yeah. So I wasn't stressed or pressured like I've got to bring home X number of dollars. It was just, I've got to continue to build this. Yeah. And then it will do its own thing. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. So when I hired my first admin, I paid her more than I paid myself.
I don't get paid anything right now, so I feel your pain. Yeah.
I went a lot of years with nothing. And I think it was 2014 that I finally started to take like,
oh Lord, that's
$500
All right.
a month.
So I'm 2 more years. I'll be
2 more years, man. Yeah. Well, yeah, but I really started the company in 2009. So I was a good 5 years before I took money. Also, I didn't have to take money. So the hurdles really were about balancing the kids and the company. And because it was just me, I had to be careful what appointments I scheduled outside the office. Because if it's delivery day, I got to be there for the beer guy to show up. And he shows up on his own sweet time, you know. So I was really just getting that balance down and still feeling like I was making progress.
Yeah. Did you have a good work-life balance? Like,
much better after I left the liquor store. Much, much better.
because that's what I'm working on now is being home enough to where I feel like I'm home and here, like kind of just like 60-40-ish, 70-30. I don't want to be here all the time, but I know I kind of have to be most of the time. But like, cause I'm off, I take off on Sundays, Mondays we're closed. And then like Thursday nights I'm off. And then like Saturday mornings I'm off. So I'm like, okay, that's a good amount of time.
I think if it's consistent and your kids can count on dad's home Thursday night and Saturday morning and Monday, I think that consistency is what matters. And there was something else I was going to say about that, which I can't remember. Oh, I know what it is. Another thing that was helpful to me is when I learned to leave work at work and not take it home.
Yeah.
And it's easy to pick up a laptop and a pile of invoices and think I'll input these quick after the kids are in bed.
Yep.
And so if there's a way to leave it here and do home at home and work at work.
Yeah, I learned that when I was at the sheriff's office, just like leaving work at work.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder here, but I still try to do a good job. Like, I don't answer the phone as much when I'm at home because I'm like, they'll answer it, at work. And I don't take my laptop home. And it's just like you said, it's like if you can get a good balance of that, I think it kind of mentally is a lot better.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So things are going good right now.
It's a weird year. Our wedding business is way off. Our corporate business is way up. And probably part of that is accelerant connections that I've made. But the wedding thing, I would say it used to be probably 85% of our revenue was in weddings. And we're through the backlog of the COVID weddings that couldn't happen. And now we're in this lull that I attribute to back to COVID, that year and a half that we were all kind of isolated and not creating new relationships. And so we kind of came out, I'm going to say halfway through 2021. And now we're 3 years later, which is not a lot of time really in today's culture to meet the love of your life, to fall in love with them, to become engaged, to plan a wedding. So we're in this weird lull of there's just not a lot of weddings out there. And I've chatted with some other folks in the industry, and I'm certainly not alone. So, but at the same time, then I'm like, well, yeah, but I still got to pay the bills.
Yeah, true.
So it's making me a little scrappy, which is good.
That's what I think the best version of us is when that happens, is like when we have to figure something out.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know that's when I don't like being in that situation, but I like when my mind starts thinking of like, all right, what do I got to do to make a little bit of money here and there? And just like your mind starts thinking of crazy stuff. You're like, oh, that might work and stuff. That,
I get creative. And then you benefit down the road because you were creative today.
Yeah. I remember I came up with like, what is it? Like a bourbon infused ice cream cookie that I could do. I'm just like, cigars, I'll sell it at the cigar shop. Who knows?
Heck
Whatever. And it was like, during the summer times, I was like, I hooked up with the ice cream store down here. And I was just like, that just came out of like, what can I do here?
Yeah.
Like to get something new and, innovative to bring people through the door.
It's about creating one more revenue stream.
Yeah.
Just one more. Because the more you have, the less you freak out when one of them dries up, like weddings.
So, question about your drinks, because I've had them. They're fantastic.
Thank you.
How do you come up with them?
Well,
Like, do you just sit at home and you're just like, because I would love to come over and just like, if you're just making drinks and you're just handing them out, yeah, I'll be your taste tester.
You'll be right there.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of things. Several years ago, I started, as a recommendation of my social media babe, said, you're good on camera. You should make drinks on camera. And let's call it Thirsty Thursday and just put a drink out every Thursday. So I do that. And shameless plug, you can find it at Embrace the Grape on Facebook or Instagram.
You hear that?
Thirsty Thursday. And it's really just me being stupid making some drink. And sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not. But what you get, because I do it in one take, so what you get is whatever flows out of my mouth at the time. And I'm brutally honest.
Fearless.
I am fearless. So there's that. And a lot of those drinks, we poke around online and find them. But today, we had the very difficult job of taking some of the signature drinks for the Big Brothers Big Sisters event on Saturday and refining them in the office. Like, here's what they are, here are the ingredients, now we have to actually make them taste good.
Yeah.
And the surprise was Holidays bourbon with lemonade and then a sangria floater.
That sounds so good.
Gall darn. That is so good. But then, it's 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, you're
and
like,
we've
why
done
am I
that.
drinking this?
We've already done the espresso martini and another drink, and now this is the third one. And Misty and I in the office are like, dude, we got to eat lunch because this is enough. So there's a little bit of other people give us ideas and then we refine it, because we've had people say, this is what I want for my signature drink. And they'll give us the recipe and we don't do anything about it. We just send the stuff and have them make it. And it's terrible. And then we look bad because we're serving a bad drink.
Yeah.
So now we always take the recipe and make it and make sure it's actually drinkable and fix it.
Smart. Yeah.
And then our bartenders have a better opportunity for success.
Yeah. That sounds like just a fun day, just being at work. Just like, I'm just going to make these drinks.
It's often a Thursday or a Friday afternoon, but since I did orders today, I'm like, I got to figure this out, so I order the right amount of stuff.
So do you like pick drinks just for like certain events? Like, you're going to do, let's say, I don't know, concert series in the park. Like, do you do like drinks that are just like for like, you know what I mean?
Kinda.
Or you're doing, I know this sounds crazy. You're going to do like a rodeo. You're like, all right, let me do a cowboy drink or something like that. Yeah.
Bourbon drink with some pomegranate and lemonade and call it bourbon roundup. I don't know. I'm bad at names.
We just made a drink up. There you go.
Yeah, right there. So some events we get to really just make the menu, which is fun. Other events, private events, usually they've got a list of stuff to choose from, and if they want to do a signature drink, we can give them ideas, or they can say, hey, we want something that's yellow and it has mango in it and we like vodka, and then we'll come up with something.
That's cool. Yeah, I've had your drinks and they are phenomenal.
Thank you.
We did that with Girl Scout cookie thing in here, and the drinks paired well. It was good. I was like, man, you do a good job.
Thanks.
So did you like have experience beforehand, like kind of mixing
Just
drinks?
as a
or you
drinker.
just like, I'm just a drinker and I know what tastes
Drinker,
good.
man. So I didn't even know when we started this company that people like to have a lemon wedge in their Boulevard Wheat or an orange and Blue Moon. Like that's how basic and naive I was. And then I just learned along the way. One of the first people I hired when I had a cash bar, because they say in the liquor business, people just steal your money. And then we had a cash bar, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my sister about it, and she says, well, I mean, I can pour Jameson over ice. That's about it, but I won't steal from you. Like, you are hired.
Yes, hired now.
And she worked for me until about 6 months ago. Yeah, so I don't know. You just kind of figure it out as you go.
This funny story about kind of what she said. I was asked to do a bartending event in Weston when I worked at the cigar shop out there. So I had to get like my bartending license, all that stuff. And really just taking a test and whatever. So I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. They're like, oh, you'll be fine. We're just going to do this event. Just sit by the bar, just make drinks, just figure it out. I'm like, okay. And it is like 2,000-3,000 people at this event. I'm like,
gosh.
You got to be shitting me. And so there's like everyone's there, everyone's lined up, and then they're coming to me and they're like, hey, can I get a Sex on the Beach or something? I'm like, you can get a Jack and Coke.
Yeah.
Like, I know how to make things that have two ingredients.
Pick a liquor, pick a mixer.
Exactly. That's
what I
it.
call it.
That's it. Anything else? Like, I was like, I'm sorry. I am very novice at this. So everybody's like, can I get this and this? Like, you can get Jack and Coke. You can get a cranberry vodka. You can get Sprite and whatever. Like, those things, I got you. So, yeah, it took a while. But, like, at the end of the night, I was like, okay, I maybe could do this. But I was like, it's a lot of work. So, yeah, kudos to your bartenders and people that do it. Yeah, I don't know how people do it because it's a lot of work making drinks. It's not as easy as people think it is.
It's a lot of coordination, and you do have to pay attention to, my goodness, I had no idea everybody was going to drink Angry Orchard tonight. And all of a sudden you're through the initial rush at a wedding and you have no more cold.
Yeah.
And so to pay attention along the way and realize, okay, this is what they're drinking. I got to throw 6 or 8 of them in between helping people, you know, while you're taking your drink off the bar and moving and the next person's coming up, I got to grab more beer and throw it down to get cold because at some point I'm not going to have any cold beer and that's no good.
So you got any like horror stories of like your events?
Oh my gosh. There was one event early on. Okay. First of all,
You're like, it's not my fault.
it is my fault. 100% my fault. First of all, what I learned the hard way is that there was an event space we worked in that's long gone now that we did all the work in, and they charged a premium for the bar, way more than we charged. And then we would be paid out of what they collected, but they charged a lot. Or at least I thought it was a lot at the time. And what I realized is that people who are willing to pay that amount of money also have guests who are going to drink that amount.
Very true.
So I completely understocked the bar, and because I had never come across people who were going to drink. They drink, I remember calculating it out afterwards, 6.94 drinks per person that night.
Holy moly.
I mean, they drank everything behind the bar.
That's a lot.
And it was early on. I had no money, and so I didn't give my bartenders, like now the bartenders all get emergency cash so that if something runs low and they need to go get it, they've got my money to go get it. Otherwise, if something ran low, they'd have to dip into their tip jar if they even decided to do that, go and get it and hope I'd reimburse them, which of course I would.
Yeah.
But I had no money. My bartenders had no money. And one girl said to me one time, she's like, okay, so I sort of spent half my mortgage at the grocery store for you, and mortgage is due tomorrow. So
yeah, I need that.
I'm like, I got you, girl. So learning how to stock the bar so that there's plenty of product, but also my people got to schlep all that stuff in. So you don't want to completely overstock it because you got to schlep it in, schlep it out. We got to count it. We got to move it. You know, it's yeah. That's probably been my biggest fail is when I just completely have understocked the bar. But then, you know, I come back and we figure out how to make it right to the client. And it's been a long time since that happened.
Well, good.
And I'll tell you this, I would much rather do whatever it takes to make it right on Saturday night than talk to the client on Monday.
True.
And I had a client call me on Father's Day. They were so upset. It was the first one where I completely understocked the bar. And she called me the next day was Father's Day, and she called me on Father's Day, and she's like, I want to talk to you. I'm like, and this is when I still answered my phone at home. I'm like, oh, it's Father's Day. Can I call you tomorrow?
Say, no, I actually have to talk to you now. All right.
Yeah.
So are you to the point now, I know that a lot of business owners know what I'm talking about, where are you an employee of your business or are you running your business?
Oh, that's a great question. So I have duties in the business that I am counted on to do. But there's so much more that I don't do anymore.
Yeah.
I consult on that stuff. My duties are basically CFO and large account development.
Yeah.
Large new account development. It's pretty much all I do. But the rest of it somebody else does. And so it's a nice balance because I did spend some time through my divorce. I kind of checked out emotionally and intellectually in the company, and I had people there to back me up and take care of things, and I was terrible.
Yeah.
And half the time, you know, when I would be sitting back at my desk trying not to let them hear that I'm crying back there, and somebody would come back and say, "You're no good to us here. Go home. Get out." I'm like, "Okay, I'm out."
Yeah.
So it runs on its own enough to do that, but after 18 months or so, I could begin to see some fatigue in the people that worked with me.
Yeah.
And as I began to come out of that difficult time and sort of come back to life, if you will, there were holes and things that I could see were widening and deepening. And so I needed to come back and be
good.
fully present.
Yeah. So are you doing any events, or are you kind of letting people do it too? Because that's like the fun part,
It
right?
is.
Yeah, I know.
It is. So it's a balance because I love doing them, and it helps me remember how hard my people work for me, because it is hard work. But also I want them to make the money.
Yeah.
So you'll find me.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that. That makes sense. Yeah.
You'll find me behind the bar in 3 different situations. One, this event is so much fun, I can't stand it, and I have to do it, which I'm working on Saturday for that reason.
There you go.
2, this client has been a pain in the butt from the day one, and when they call me on Monday and say something didn't go right, I want to be the one who is behind the bar to say, oh no, pardon me, here's what happened.
Yeah.
So it's a protection piece for me. And the third is that I'm a body. I am an able body and I can work. So when we're super busy or somebody has a crisis on Wednesday when they're supposed to work on Saturday, I can jump in and pick that up. So,
yeah, I'm still working on that myself. It's like trying not to be an employee of your business, but like I'm like you, like, but I love being here, and I love like kind of interact with people, doing stuff. Like I'm still taking some off my plate to where I don't feel like I'm doing as much, but it's like I still like doing most of the stuff. So I gotta learn, take a lot off your plate, kind of, be here to be the owner, not an employee. But it's tough.
So what I did when I wanted to hire somebody, because I couldn't do everything anymore, is I took a couple of weeks and I just wrote down all the stuff I did as I did it. Just scratched out, here's what you did all day. Because like people say, well, what do you do? I'm like, well, I don't know. I really don't know what I did today. So I started keeping track and just a rough list. And then I separated the list into things I'm good at and I like to do, and a list of things I am not good at and I don't like to do, and everything else fell in the middle. So I created a job description based on the things that I'm not good at and I don't like to do. And then I took the other things on the list that maybe I'm good at but I don't like to do. Did I say that already?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
And then I began to move the things that I don't like to do or I'm not good at onto a different plate. And then that just left me with the stuff I naturally excel at. And then I feel great.
You got a good business mind. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are like a natural entrepreneur. Yeah. Let's see.
And then every once in a while, stuff will get loaded onto your plate again and things start falling off. And that's when it's time to create a new position and figure out how to streamline the person you have. And are they really enjoying what they're doing? Or do they have things that they don't like to do that they'd like to get rid of? And we just went through a little bit of a restructuring.
So how many people work for you now?
In the office, there's 4 of us total. 2 of us are full-time, and then there's 2 who are part-time. And then bartender-wise, there's about 25.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially from where you started. It was probably just you.
Me and, my sister.
Yeah. That's cool. So you got them, I guess, on rotation of, people you use. That's cool.
And not everybody works every weekend because I require everyone to have their own source of revenue, which is not me.
Yeah.
So I'm fun money. I'm vacation money. I'm new car money. I'm put the kids through college money. I'm pay off your debt money. I'm not mortgage money. I'm not food money. I'm not car payment money.
Yeah.
I'm the good stuff.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Yeah, so they can actually not be stressed when they're working with you.
Yeah. And then you know what? When it's not fun anymore, they just move themselves along because they never needed the money anyway. It's nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, my goodness, when I work and I pull a bunch of gratuity out of a tip jar, that's just slushy cash I love to have, but I don't need it.
So what do you like to do if you're not working?
I'm kind of in the last 10 years, I've kind of come into a fitness piece in my world. I've got a bicycle I ride quite a bit in the summertime, and I like to throw some weights around this morning. Feels great.
It does feel good. I try to work out every day.
Yeah. I swim, I kayak, I race, and so that's fun. Race the kayak with that sister who knows how to pour Jameson.
Yeah, we're going to get into that because I was going to ask you about the MR 340.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
so if those of you don't know, it's the Missouri River and it's 340 miles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it starts from Call Point. You go all the way 340 miles down the Missouri River. Where is it at?
To St. Charles.
St. Charles.
Yeah.
That is a long trek. And how long have you done it?
10. We just did our 10th one.
10th one. So 10 years doing it,
10
right?
10 years, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that. Because a lot of people don't understand how difficult that race is. Because I almost did it, and then I forgot what happened. I think the river it was raining too much, so it's like
2019.
Yeah, I think that was the year.
It kept getting postponed because the river was too high.
Yeah.
And then it ended up running in November of 2019, and only 3 boats raced. We were not one of them.
So what got you into doing that?
So I grew up on a lake and grew up water skiing and doing all of that stuff. And when my dad was in his mid-40s, he learned how to barefoot. And
How to barefoot?
How to barefoot, I mean, ski with just on your feet.
What?
At the end of the rope.
Okay. Yeah.
and it takes a lot of strength and a lot of, and my dad back in the day.
That sounds painful.
My dad was the boss back in the day, I'm telling you. So I had an opportunity to learn how to barefoot when I was in my mid-40s. And I thought, you know what? This is a great idea. I'm going to do this. And I bought it on some fundraiser silent auction table, barefoot water ski lessons, and I could either have 2 lessons or I could invite a friend and we could have 1 lesson. So of course I invite my sister, and she is a natural athlete, has been athletic since we were kids, softball, basketball, volleyball, all the things. And so she did really well for our first time. I did okay. I was respectable for our first time. But what you don't realize is that it takes a lot of core and upper body strength.
I bet, yeah.
We were on a boom on the side of the boat, so we'd get out on the boom and kind of rest on our hips out there, and then the instructor got the boat up to speed, which is about 40 miles an hour, and she would say, "Now drop in." So then you're supposed to drop in off the boom and just put your feet on the water, and then you go. Well, that works great until your feet aren't on the water anymore, but you're still hanging onto the boom. So now you're bouncing off the water, off the back of the boat at 40 miles an hour. And what you're supposed to be able to do is pull your knees up to your chest, swivel your hips back around, and stick your feet in the water.
Jesus.
Sounds easy, right?
No, it doesn't sound easy at all.
So we both ended up with one hip that was black and blue. I mean, it looked like somebody took a baseball bat to us because we were bouncing around on that water trying to get our knees to come up and swivel around. We just weren't strong enough. And so we decided we're going to work out all winter long, and we are going to get our core and our upper body ripped, buff. And we're going to come back, we're going to barefoot ski the next summer, and we're going to be amazing. So then my sister talks to this friend of hers who had just done the 340 and about how great it is and how Jody should do it. And it's, all these wonderful things. So Jody comes to me and she says, "Hey, you know how we could really get our core and upper body in shape?
Do this 340-mile race."
Yeah, she tells me we should do the Missouri River 340. I'm like, I don't know what that is. And she told me, and I said, "Girl, you are on crack because nobody's doing that. Forget it." So this is like September of 2013. And then she pokes at me again a little bit, a few weeks later. And then a few weeks later, she just keeps poking at me. And she's my big sister. And, over time, you do everything your big sister tells you to do.
Yeah.
And she just kept poking at me. And so she poked at me one more time in early November, then went on sabbatical for a month and left me to stew in my own juices about it. So I did some research and talked to a friend of mine, and he said his advice was, "You don't even know what 340 miles feels like. Why don't you paddle a canoe for 20 miles and see how you feel?" So we went back and got the canoe that our grandparents had, which is still in existence, at somebody else's house, paddled around Lake Lotawana in December.
In December?
Well, that's what time of year it was.
Jesus.
We didn't realize there was a hole in the canoe. And so we took on some water, but we paddled it back into the backs of the coves until we ran into ice, and then we came back out. And we figured Lotawana has a 13-mile perimeter, and so we thought, that's got to be probably 10 miles we're doing. So we did it twice. We thought, okay, well, let's try it. So then we got somebody to be our trainer who actually knew what they were doing. And we began to get fit. And we were sore for 6 months because the
Yeah.
trainer would kick our butt once a week, and then we had to go kick our own butts another couple times a week. And then we had to buy a boat because we didn't even have a boat. And then we just started and did a lot of training that first year, a lot of work on the water. And then we just
did it.
did it. And it was crazy. Some people do it just to say they've done it. It's a bucket list thing. And I think most people start off as a bucket list. And then for some people, it just kind of gets in you. And so we actually, that year, the race was postponed also a month because the water was too high.
Yeah.
It's a Coast Guard sanctioned race, so you can't race in flood level.
Yeah.
So because of that, some better paddlers dropped out in our division. We race in the women's tandem division.
Yeah.
And we ended up winning our division the first year.
What?
I know.
What?
I know. So how's that to get it in your blood?
Yeah. Oh, now you're like, oh, we win this.
Now,
and
you got a trophy.
Yeah.
And
then
you're
now
not
you-
even any good.
Yeah. Then you're like, now I gotta I can't let anybody take it from us. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, so I could see why you kept doing it after that.
So yeah, then we've just done it year over year. And every year the river brings you a different flavor of hell and damnation.
Yeah. 340. How long does that take?
This year it was 55 hours and 6 minutes.
Jeez. And that's just on the water because you got to get off.
No, that includes off the water.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
That's
And you don't have
you're
to get off.
Looking at 55 hours.
It's about 7 miles an hour. I mean,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
river gives you 3.
So did you win it this year?
We did.
Of course you did.
We did. Of the 10 years we've been, Jody went back and looked. She counted her trophies, right? Because how else do you know? We've won 4 times out of 10. There's been 1 year we were not on the podium at all. So so 9 out of 10 years we've at least been on the podium.
That's congrats. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
so you're just like a badass at it.
But also, Mike, it's not about how well you paddle. It's about how you don't quit.
Yeah.
That's really it. It's not. We don't do so well in the shorter races. Like there's a 50 mile and a 63 mile race that are kind of warm up races, and we do okay there. But we're not the fastest paddlers. We're not the most skilled team out there by far. But what we do really well is stay in the boat, and we don't sleep much. And so, all kinds of things can happen in 340 miles. You don't know. People get sick and they drop out. There were 2 teams that should have beaten us, but they both quit.
They quit.
Yeah, and about a third of the racers don't
Yeah.
finish. And I don't know what happened to the one that I think should have been first place. There was a medical issue that I'm not familiar with. The second one, though, I think it was the first time they'd paddled. They were ahead of us the whole time by about between 20 and 40 minutes on the water. And with 70 miles to go, one of the girls looked at the other and said, "I've had a really nice time. I'm done." And she just bailed on her partner. And then her partner said, "You know what? I only have 70 miles to go. I at least want to finish." So she finished, ended up finishing an hour behind us, and we passed her with about 45 miles to go. Ridiculous. So it's such a lesson about life that it's not always about being the best in what you do. It's not about showing up smarter or brighter or funnier or richer.
Yeah.
It's about showing up.
Just not giving up.
And I will tell you, my sister was dead dog sick on this trip. She was
this
throwing
last
up.
one?
She was throwing up off the side of the boat for 2 days.
Jeez.
She ate something she shouldn't have eaten, and she was not okay. And then it's me. I actually had a pretty good race. She was a dead dog, but I had a pretty good race. But there have been other years that, like the last 50 miles, I had nerve pain shooting down my left arm every time I took a left arm paddle stroke. Well, she pushed my happy ass across the finish line that year. This year, I pulled hers across the finish line. So that's the lovely thing about me and a team.
Yeah.
But also, it was never about us quitting this year when she was so sick. It was about maybe we're going to sleep a little longer so she can recover more thoroughly.
How long are you sleeping for?
In a perfect year, it's 90 minutes twice.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. But there are people who don't sleep at all.
Yeah. And so because Dave was telling me about it, Dave that works here, he said that because he's done it 2 or 3 times, and he's like, you start getting like delirious, like,
You do.
like you're sleep deprived. You're just like, what is that? You're like, oh wait, I'm just sleep deprived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see stuff that doesn't exist out there. And
90 minutes twice. That's it.
Yeah. So the rhythm is our gun goes off at 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning. And we'll paddle until about 2 o'clock in the morning. And we'll get off the water like 3 times for a quick stretch your legs and replenish your food and water. So we've paddled 140 miles that first day. And then it's 30 minutes off the water, 90 minutes in bed, 30 minutes to get back on the water. So we're off the water 2.5 hours. And then, if we're in at 2 o'clock in the morning, we're back out at 4:30, and then we'll paddle until about 10:30 that night and do the same thing. And then get back on the water about 1 or 1:30 in the morning and finish the race.
Jesus.
But what you get to see are the stars.
Yeah.
And the full moon.
Which is cool, yeah.
And the rhythmic dipping of your paddle in the water in the dark, because you don't listen to music in the dark because you have to hear everything around you. And it's just...
Do you have like a light at least?
Yeah, you have to have lights like boats do, like your port and starboard in front and then your stern light in back. But as far as being able to see in front of you, you don't have... You rely on the moon.
That is... Which is cool, but that is just... It's crazy race. Like, I wish I would have done it. I don't know if I could do it now, but... Like,
you can do it now.
I know I can. It's just gonna I have to mentally prepare for that.
That's it. It's a mental game. I mean, it's physical for sure, but you have to also have the mental wherewithal to not let your body win. Yes, you're getting back on the water.
I didn't know you were such a badass. What? That many times? Look at you go. Yeah,
it's my sister's fault.
Yeah,
I'm not really a badass. She's the badass.
Well, you guys have won it plenty enough. And you won it this last year. And you won it the first time you did it.
But I will say, so we did 55 hours this year. I think the first boat across the line, I don't know what it was, but it's usually in the mid-30s hours. So
those are the ones that don't sleep.
They don't sleep. They're paddling at 10, 11 miles an hour. They are crazy good paddlers. Yeah.
So what's been your record?
Just a shade under 52.
That's
and our worst has been almost 65.
Yeah, I would be like probably 340 hours. 340 miles? Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. 1 mile an hour. Yeah, I'll get there eventually. Yeah. Well, everyone's gone. They're like, where's Mike? Yeah, that would be me.
I recommend it to everyone.
Yes. That's cool. So before we end, 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
So if you could go back in time, like say when you were younger before you started, what would you tell yourself that you know now? Like going in, yeah.
That is a great question. If I could go back and speak to 18-year-old Jane, I think it would be that you don't even know who you're going to be. You think you know who you are today, but in 10 years, you're going to look back and not recognize who you are. And 10 years from there, you're going to look back and not know 28-year-old Jane or 18-year-old Jane.
Yeah.
And it just circulates on and to just understand life lasts a long time and it is an adventure and it's going to take you places if you're willing to go.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So second question.
Yeah.
I like that answer, by the way. That was a good one.
Thanks.
So where do you see Embrace the Grape like the next 5-10 years?
Oh my gosh. So full disclosure, I'm in my mid-50s. And like right there at the double nickel sign. And, I'm starting to play around with retirement. And I want to go and enjoy the world and enjoy grandkids if anybody wants to have them. And
you're like hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
No, they'll come along or they won't. If they don't, I'll just adopt somebody else's.
There you go.
But I'm starting to think about exit, but not exit like I'm itching to get out. Exit like, how do I prepare the company for one of two things? Either to sell it, for something that's worth some money that will add to my retirement portfolio and be substantial. Because by then I'll be 20 years into this thing. I ought to have something out of it that pays me forward forever. But there are things you got to do to prepare a company to do that. And I don't really know what they are. I mean, I kind of know what they are, but I don't know down to the letter what that needs to be. So I either sell it or it goes to one of my kids. But nobody's necessarily, chomping at the bit to have mom's company. I think they've seen mom work her guts out.
Yeah.
But also I want to hang on to it long enough that I don't, like if I sold it now, my kids are so young enough, they're in their 20s, that somebody might come back to me in 10 years and say, Mom, I wish I would have taken that company over from you. And I don't want that. I would regret that. So I want to hang on to it long enough to make sure, for sure, nobody wants it. So that's another 5 years, and then it's another 5 years after that to really exit. So I'll be in my mid-60s and hopefully still, active and
I'm sure you're still going to be active.
Winning enjoy
your
traveling.
Tandem race in 340.
Right. I enjoy traveling, and I have no trouble going wherever I want to go by myself if there's nobody to go with me. So, that's it.
Good.
Next
like
10
that.
years.
Yeah. So you already got it planned out. You already had the answer already.
But that's a lot of work ahead of me, sir.
So tell people how they can find you and your company and how they can get in contact with you.
The best way is to go to our website, which is embracecatering.com, Embrace Catering. And on there, it gives you all the details about the company. If you're interested in an event, there's a instant estimator tab, and you can go on there. And this is really for like private parties, like wedding receptions and that kind of thing. And you can do kind of a rough cost of what it would be for us to come.
That's good.
And then
idea,
when you hit submit, it comes back to our office. We put together a real quote for you. Or if we see like it's a corporate event for 2 hours, we'll call you and say, okay, this model, this by the head model isn't going to work for you. And so let's talk about how to make this. So that's the easiest way. And of course, for crying out loud, Thirsty Thursday.
Thirsty Thursdays.
Embrace the Grape on Facebook and Instagram. And I think
videos are fun. I like seeing them.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think they show up on YouTube at some point too, but I'm not the boss of that.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Next time we're gonna have to bring drinks and we're gonna have to be the bartender.
You know what? Yeah, we talked about that, and I kind of
don't worry. We could have another one where we have a couple people. We bring Randy back.
You bring Randy back.
Yeah, he can be our taste tester, and I'll make the drinks too. So if they're really bad, he can tell me the truth. I already got it planned out. See?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's schedule it.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Mike.
And
a
hopefully
pleasure.
you have a good rest of the day, and hopefully you get to enjoy some time to yourself today.
I will.
Yes.
I will. At least in the car on the way back to
exactly.
Lee Summit.
Well, thank you for coming on, and thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Goodbye, everybody.